Happy Friday. It's been a bit since I've been on here. It's been a really busy summer. So people always ask me if the Flathead market is up or down. And the honest answer, that's the wrong question, because this market doesn't move the way the headlines move. If you're relocating here and you're reading or listening to national housing news to try to figure out what your money buys in Kalispell, you're reading the wrong map. So let me give you the right one. Here's how this market actually works. I'm Corey Olofson with Coldwell Banker Mountain Properties. I was raised in the Flathead Valley, and I've been working here as a full-time realtor for over 25 years. I'm not going to tell you it's a good time or a bad time to buy. I did that in another video. This one's different. This is the actual operating manual. 4 forces drive everything here, and once you understand them, the prices stop looking random. So let's dive in. Force number 1. Most of our demand is not local. In a normal city, home prices track local jobs and local wages. People get hired, people buy houses. Here, that's not the engine. A huge share of our buyers are coming from elsewhere. Seattle, LA, Chicago, Dallas. They're not pricing a house against a Kalispell paycheck. They're pricing it against what they just sold in a market that sometimes costs 2 or 3 times as much. That's why the Flathead Valley can feel expensive relative to local income and still feel like a bargain to the person moving in. Both things are true. That gap between what locals can pay and what relocation buyers will pay is the first thing that you have to hold in your head. Force number 2, the supply side barely moves. We are not a market that can just build its way out of demand. We don't have huge national home builders. We have terrain. We've got water and septic constraints on a lot of the rural land. We have construction costs that climbed and never fully came back down. And we've got a limited pool of finished lots in the places people actually want to live. Inventory has improved off the bottom line. There are now more options than there were a couple years ago, but more is still a relative term. This is still a market where the good, well-located, move-in ready listing is a scarce thing. So when demand from the outside meets a supply that doesn't stretch, the prices hold up even when activity cools. That's why you'll see days on market get longer, homes sitting 100 plus days without prices falling off a cliff. Slower is not the same as cheaper. Write that one down. Okay, force number 3, and this is where most people get the valley wrong. There is no such thing as the Flathead Valley market. There are at least 3 stacked on top of each other, and they don't move together. So our bottom tier is the entry-level market. Call it the low 5s and under. That's where most of the competition is, because that's where the local buyer, the first relocation buyer, and the investor are all fishing in the same pond. So these homes typically move fast. The middle tier is the move-up market, the mid-6s through high 100s. Bigger, broader, more inventory, and more room to negotiate. And then the top tier is the luxury and second home market, $1 million and up, heavily Whitefish, lakefront, large tracts. That tier runs on its own clock entirely. It's not interest rate sensitive the way the others are, because a lot of these buyers aren't financing much of it. It's driven by wealth, by views, by water frontage, not by the monthly payment. So when someone tells you the market is hot or the market is slow, your first question should be, which market? Because on any given month, the entry level can be on fire while the luxury tier is sitting, or vice versa. Okay, force number 4. This market is seasonal, and it's thin. And that combination produces the single most misleading number you will ever look at, the monthly median. Here's a real example. Whitefish's median sale price in January came in around $670,000. The very next month, February, it was $1.3 million. Did Whitefish double in 30 days? Of course not. What happened is that almost nothing sold in January, and then a couple of big lakefront deals closed in February and dragged the whole median up with them. That's what thin means. When only a handful of homes sell in a month, 2 or 3 high-end closings can swing the median by hundreds of thousands of dollars. The number didn't measure the market. It measured which expensive houses happened to close that week. So, if you're tracking the Flathead market by watching 1 month's median, you're going to scare yourself or fool yourself, sometimes both in the same. You don't read a thin seasonal market month to month. You read it in trends, over quarters, within a single price tier and a single town. Everything else is noise dressed up as data. So, with all that in mind, here's the honest read on where we are. The county median is sitting in the mid 600s. Kalispell is running in the low to mid 5s. Whitefish is around $1 million and bounces hard. Homes are taking longer to sell than they did at the peak. That's real, and it's given buyers back some negotiating room, especially in the move-up tier. Rates have been bouncing around. Inventory is definitely healthier than it was, and the most competitive segment by a mile is still that entry-level band under about $500,000, because that's where most of the buyers are stacked up. That is not a crash. It is also not a frenzy. It's a market that's gone from chaotic back to something you can actually think your way through. Which, if you're the kind of buyer who likes to make a decision with information instead of adrenaline, this is the best environment that you could ever ask for. So, what do you do with all this information? You stop asking whether the market is good. You figure out which of the 3 markets you're actually shopping in. You look at the trend in that tier in that town, and you ignore the monthly headline number. Pricing here is a strategy, not a gut feeling. And now you know enough to see the strategy. If you're thinking about a move to the Flathead Valley, I've put together a full relocation guide that walks through every town, what it costs, and how to actually shop it. It's free. The link is in the description. And if you want my read on a specific tier and town, set up a relocation strategy call. That link's down there too. I'm Corey Olofson, your strategic advisor and Montana native for real estate in the Northwest Montana. I'm working through the whole valley, one honest video at a time. So subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.